Sports Cavalcade, defending top alcohol dragster king Blaine Johnson is #1 in a talented field as he tries to solidify his points lead for a 4th consecutive Winston Championship. Alcohol funny car race Pat Austin has never lost a round here in Topeka, but Randy Anderson and Chuck Cheeseman think that they're the guys to change that. And in competition eliminator, the points leader is, who else? David Nickens. But with names like Bunderberg, Lincolnfelder, and Ambrose in the field, the little Castrol Aldred has got some index whipping to do. This is going to be fun. Welcome, everyone, to Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas for American Sports Cavalcade coverage of the Western Auto Sports Nationals. Just kind of pops and bangs, doesn't have that hollow sound, Brock, that the supercharger provides.
No, and we've seen these cars run really, really well, but as you said earlier, they're a little tricky to tune, and not too many guys run them.
Now, start qualified #2 beat Frank Parks in round #1. And Smith, he qualified #7, and he sent fellow Heartlander Todd Datweiler home in round #1. So let's watch him go. Can the little nitro giant killer pull it off? Ooh, it sure looks like it. Ooh, and sideways goes Smith. It is Stark at a 6:14, 229 miles an hour, and he probably gobbled up about 5 or 6 gallons of nitromethane to do it at $25 a shot. All right, again, let's go to Bob at the starting line.
6.14, and those injected cars keep making life miserable for the rest of these guys.
Well, we have to put some, evidently get some more clutch in it. I don't know what's going on with it yet. It's just a new combination. Gene Adams.
This track's brutal. Is it really affecting your car any more than the others?
Well, it seems to be more forgiving on this car than it does the blown cars.
Well, speaking of blown cars, here's one of them. Chuck Baird pulling up to do his burnout. Baird, of course, was on the very top of Blaine Johnson's hit list. Right now, let's go down to the far end. Brock Yates is with Keith Stark, the driver of the little nitro burner.
Well, Keith, this old nitro car ran a 14.
Well, that's a little off, but the heat of the day, I guess it's not that awful bad.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to have to step it up a little bit. Guys are thinking maybe 6 flats are going to do it.
Yeah, it shook out in the middle. I had to pedal it and get back in it again, and it shook real hard again, so hopefully we'll be able to do better next round.
I'm sure you will. Good luck.
Thanks.
I believe it'll come around. The fuel system designed by Lean Gene Adams out in California. All right, backing up now will be Chuck Baird and David Russell. No nitro involved here. Both of them are the supercharged alcohol-style cars. Probably about 270 to 280 inches in wheelbase. There you see a crewman going in to make sure Darrell was tucked in properly. Darrell Russell out of Cypress, Texas, just a youngster in this business. But he qualified #6 at a 6:03. Chuck Baird, he qualified in the #3 spot at a 5:99. And everybody wants to be in the 5s with these cars. And you got to drive them very aggressively. Stage solidly, bring the RPMs up, let the clutch out, shift twice down the racetrack. A big hole shot for David Russell. But it is not going to be enough, not by a long shot, as Chuck Baird fires off a 6:02 at 228 miles an hour to a losing 6:17. Pete Brown is his crew chief, and Bob Fry's with him.
Peter, 6:02 in this heat, I think that's awesome.
Well, it's not bad, Bob. We run a 6:01 there yesterday, and we pretty much set it up the same, and the track isn't getting any better, so we'll just have to try to repeat.
Got one of those unpredictable injected cars in the next round. What are you going to do?
Just try to tune it the same. Be consistent.
Consistent's been the name of the game for this team all season long.
Well, watch. Russell in the near lane. He just drills Baird on the tree. You can see it plainly. And that was the only shot that David Russell had. Baird normally doesn't cut great reaction times unless you pin him in a corner. There you can see he just used his power to outgun Russell on the top end of the racetrack. It wasn't even close. And different zip codes at 6:02 to a 6:17. The winner speed 228 miles an hour. Brock?
Well, Chuck, so far, low ET of the round, 02.
That's extremely good in this racetrack. Thank you very much.
I figured you'd like that.
That's very, very good. I'm almost speechless.
I would say that's got to be the ballpark to win this deal.
Yeah, you know, we've raced here before, and the biggest thing everybody's fighting from any category down, we all know, is the heat in the track, you know. So we'll just have to wait and see how the day goes on.
It ain't going to go away, I'll guarantee.
It's not going to get no better.
Good luck. Jeff.
Thank you all.
Fast.
He thanked Yates as if maybe he tuned him up. Is there something I don't know that's going on around here?
You've been wondering where I've been between rounds? I just grab wrenches and go back there and help anybody that needs me.
Don't quit your day job. All right, here is Blaine Johnson and Bill Rickert, the next pair in the second round of alcohol dragster competition. Johnson has the lane choice. No surprise, there's 6 flat. We haven't seen a 6 flat today. No, he's not missing a magneto. They're only allowed to run a single plug per cylinder in the Oldsmobile engines that Blaine likes to use, and they use that double mag drive. I don't know why, but it always looks like one of the mags fell out. Bill Rickert, well, the man from Michigan, he's got 2 real magnetos in his car, and they're both pumping out a ton of voltage.
He's going to need it because Blaine Johnson was the #1 qualifier here, the only guy in the field to get into the 5s at a 5.99. So he is always tough, and I'll guarantee you that's not going to be different today.
No, it won't. You see the wheelie bar to keep him from tipping over backwards. Johnson just abuses Rickert. Whoa, 5.96. That is low elapsed time of the day in the category at a big speed of 232 miles an hour. So that will set up the final 4 here at the Western Auto Sports Nationals in the alcohol dragster category. Blaine Johnson will have the lane choice over Darrell Hitchman. No big surprise there. And Chuck Baird, he will enjoy the lane choice over that unpredictable 100% nitromethane powered car of Keith Stark. Ooh, listen to those motors come up. Chesterman out first by about 200s, and will it be enough? And look at the top end charged by Randy Anderson. Whoa, 6.26 at 2:29 wins it for Anderson to a losing 6.33 at 2:28. Bob Fry's at the starting line.
That is 6.26. Not all inspiring, but it gets you into the next round.
Well, any way we can get him. I didn't think we could get down that lane, but he did it, so.
Kid Chesterman's got a nice guy working with him, Les Davenport, and you knew that wasn't going to be an easy run.
Well, I felt they were the car to beat. If we could win that, I thought we had a chance of winning the race, but now that we'll have to see what happens. I want lane choice, but I don't think I got it.
Now they're one step closer. We'll find out what happens with the lane choice in just a moment.
Well, part of their success in that lane was Randy Anderson himself. He left at just the right RPM. He pulled those shift lefters at just the right time. You got to give him some of the credit for that. It's not all mechanical. It still takes a driver in these cars to win. It was even at half track, but the tremendous charge that Anderson put on at the far end of the racetrack, I think surprised Chesterman more than anybody else. He may have thought he had it won. Okay, let's go to Brock at the far end.
Randy, 6.26.
Yeah, it's slick out there. This 98-degree temperature is really taking its toll on the track, and I'm quite honestly just happy with the win. You know, ET's just a number right now.
Yeah, nobody's going to, I think, run any real low numbers here, so you're just going to have to take the wins. You're going to have to drive the car, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I had my hands full there. It was shaking awfully hard and skating out in the middle of the track, and, you know, that's not really what it's supposed to be.
You're going to be watching for lane choice, I'm sure, because that one lane's got that little hump in it. Does it bother the alcoholic funny cars real bad?
You know, real honestly, it hasn't bothered my car, and otherwise, if it's not shaking, it's fine. I ran my low AT of the day yesterday over there with 605, so if we can get the tire shake out of it, it goes right over it.
Go get him.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ren.
Father and son had exactly the same emotions about this second round win. Interesting, isn't it? Next up, a couple of guys that just love to drag race, particularly the man here in the near lane, Vern Modes from Iowa. Been racing most of his adult life. He survived a couple of bad crashes, had open heart surgery as recent as a year ago, and here he is up against Danny Townsend, Brock.
Danny Townsend out of Muncie, Indiana. Remember, we saw him run so well in some of the sportsman classes, moved up into the alcohol funny cars, and came in here and qualified #1. So he's a serious player. You talked about Vern, one of the great pros in this business. He knows how to get down a drag strip, and he's going to have to do that because he's got the one with a little hump in it here today.
That's right. He qualified at a 6:12 and beat Jackie Stidham, the Texan, in round #1. So here we go again. No advantage at the starting line. A half a car length advantage to Danny Townsend at the far end. A 6:11 right in the hunt at 228 miles an hour. And here you see another replay Moats appeared to us anyway in our camera to be ahead at about 300 feet, right about there. Let's take a look at a second angle though. Here is where Danny Townsend put the pedal down and called on all 2,500 horsepower to get around Moats. Good drag race. Brock is with the winner of it.
The racetrack is going to get hotter. I don't think it's going to anything's going to cool off. This wind's just absolutely dead still, and the racetrack's going to boil by the time you guys come up again.
Yeah, we're just going to have to watch it. We're not going to be able to get after it much and go back and see what we got, and maybe we can. I don't think you're going to be able to improve much on it and be able to go down the racetrack, so we try to keep it the same.
Randy Anderson said the ETs go out the window. You just got to drive these cars now to win.
That's right. You don't know what the guy in the other lane's doing, so whoever's going to get the win line, whatever it takes right now.
Okay, go get him. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're watching Sky Sports.
More top alcohol funny car action coming at you from the Western Auto Sports Nationals here in Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. That is Jeff Rapp backing up there after doing his burnout, and he's going to go against a guy I talked to, Steve Evans, at the head of the show, Chuck Cheeseman, who I think's got a great chance to win this deal.
And one of the reasons is Cheeseman is working with a new SSI blower. It's not one of the screw-type compressor superchargers, but it may be an improved roots-type blower, and a lot of the guys that are using it like it. They're not talking much about it, but it's on that car right there that finished number 10 in the world a year ago.
And to qualify number 2 here. So he is on a roll, as it were. Chuck Cheeseman runs a business in Columbus, Ohio, does part of the tour. Jeff Rapp, he's from Phillipsburg, New Jersey, but he's a pro driver, hired gun out of a Texas team, and done very well and won a couple of races already this year.
Absolutely. Jeff Rapp flown in at great expense from the Garden State to wheel a Texas automobile. Here we go. Ooh, and Rapp does exactly what he's paid for. A big hole shot for the blue car. Nada. And Chuck's gal pal Joy, she likes a 614 at 227 miles an hour. Jeff Rapp was almost there. Came up a bit short at 619, 229. Let's go to Bob at the start.
I'd say you guys are a little happy about that one.
We're happy. We're real happy about everything. We changed from the PSI and went to an SSI blower, and it's coming in there for us.
And I'll tell you what, as strong as Rapp's been running lately, you had to figure that was not going to be an easy run.
Charlie had to do the lights, and he did it. That's what it's all about.
Well, the brothers Cheeseman staying alive.
Okay, let's have another look. Jeff Rapp, boy, he was good off the starting line. They just didn't give him enough beans under the hood. He had Cheeseman by, well, almost 0.04 of a second, and that's a lot in alcohol funny car racing. But there goes the gray one at about half track. Cheeseman just thunders away. Daylights Jeff Rapp, as they say. All right, I'm sure he's very pleased about it, and Brock Yates, no doubt, is pleased for it. He picked him to win it all. Here they are.
Well, Chuck, 14. Can't be all bad in this kind of heat.
Well, 14, that's not as good as we expected, but the air's about 800 foot worse we think than yesterday, so we're just gonna have to get after it. It's just, it's fat, so we'll give it our best shot.
Go get him.
Thank you, sir.
There's not a heck of a lot they can do to these cars to make them run much faster. Most of the guys have all the blower drive they can possibly run, the highest compression pistons. They can fiddle with ignition timing a little bit, maybe some transmission ratios, but as far as the engine is concerned, Brock, they're leaning on it as hard as they can now.
Well, I'm sure this man is Gary Blunt, who, believe it or not, has lane choice against the guy who he's going to go against, who has never, ever lost a race here. That, of course, is Pat Austin.
Yep, not even one round since they built Heartland Park, Topeka. Pat Austin, second only to Bob Glidden in national event victories. Pats have come in the sportsman categories primarily. Gary Blunt out of Marshalltown, Iowa. That sounds like a place you could have a good time, doesn't it?
Been there many times myself. Great little spot here in the Heartland. Blunt qualified number 6. Austin qualified number 3. Beat Jody Austin in round 1, but Blunt laid down a better ET as he got by Stan Smith and therefore enjoys that, what we call the good lane here.
Austin brings his motor up. Ooh, Austin's experience shows. Driving all over the racetrack is Blunt. Austin had his hands full as well, but Austin manages to save, and I mean save, a 613 at 230 miles an hour. Pat had to finesse that Castrol Oldsmobile to the finish line. We'll give you a one-angle replay. I don't think you can see the little smoke off the tires, but believe me, it was there. And Pat, using all of his experience, the thousands of runs he's made down the quarter mile, while his opponent, Mr. Blunt over there, well, he's headed for a two-car collision until he wisely shuts it off. Austin doing a great job, 6:13, 230 miles an hour. And of course, we all know at home what that does. That sets up the final four. It will be Pat Austin up against Chuck Cheeseman. Austin has the lane choice. Hasn't been maybe that big a factor, not as big as we thought it would be. The second pairing will find Randy Anderson versus Danny Townsend. Townsend has the lane choice. Randy happy just to be here. Brock?
Well, Pat, good news is that's win number 24 in a row here at Topeka, but I know it was a tough one. Maybe your hardest here.
Yeah, that's we got a definite problem here. We're not just racing the other racers. We seem to be racing the track today. And, you know, the guys did a good job of preparing. We were concerned about that, and the crew did a great job of getting it ready to go with my dad involved and you know, leading the show, getting this thing down there for Castrol and Oldsmobile and Dynomax and Red Wing. We're going into the semifinals.
Randy Anderson said a little earlier that ETs are going out the window, that it's going to be strictly drivers.
Well, I think so, and I'm ready for that challenge.
Oh, I know you are.
Let's do that.
This racetrack is going to get hot. Are you going to? What do you guys do with these things? You're going to just back a little power out of it, or are you going to just try to drive it through the lights as hard as you can?
Well, we're going to have to drive it as hard as we can, obviously, because you know you can only do so much to get these things down the racetrack. If you soften it up too much, the other guy's going to drive like Randy says, he's going to drive real hard and beat you guys. So you just have to be on time in the starting line. Hopefully, you get there first, and just it's a lot of luck in this sport, and I just hope the luck's on our side today. We're in Topeka, so I hope it is.
Well, you got a good streak going. Keep it up.
All right.
Ambrose starts 52 hundredths of a second ahead of his competition, and that is dialed into the Christmas tree. Each light in hole is worth a half a second. Buster Couch holds the little button that makes all of this happen. Did you get that, Brock?
I got it. I wrote it down so I can remember it. And remember now, Ambrose got himself a little four-cylinder over there and a short wheelbase kind of T-bodied roadster, and of course Linton in a pretty conventional mid-engine dragster.
Now the hole shot, as important as in heads-up racing. The closer you are to your light, the better chance you get at the far end. Here comes the dragster, and he comes up short. It is Ambrose winning it at 8:26, 154 miles an hour, even though John Linton was charging at 7:97, 165. Just couldn't catch him. Now watch each car compared to their light. Blue car, dragster car. The reaction times, Ambrose was way off, 6.0 light to Linton's 5.3. So Linton in the little dragster had pretty good advantage off the starting line, but not enough beans on the other end, so he loses. Now a perfect light in comp is a 5.0, so Linton was very close to the 5.3, but you can see, even with a 6.0 light, Ambrose was way further under the index.
Well, Steve, onward and upward. Number one qualifier continues to keep trucking.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm just having a great day, and I just love doing it.
Race car's running fine.
Oh, it's perfect. My partners have got me right where I need to be. If I don't screw up, maybe it'll be my day. I hope so.
Go get him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Don't call him sir, Steve, please. Don't call him sir. All right, here we go with more cars in Competition Eliminator. And I got to tell you, there is one of my favorite cars of all time in any class of drag racing. Pappy's Pride, Tom Snyder out of the state of Colorado. There's been a lot of Pappy's Prides over the years. The name's still dedicated to his father that got him into hot rodding. We're talking about a 6-second roadster there. We'll talk more about that a little later. Rick Kelly out of Pasadena, Texas. Well, he's no one to take lightly, even though he was the first alternate. Didn't quite qualify, but got in because somebody couldn't make it. There you see the indexes. There you see the Kelly starting line advantage, 1.75. But the roadster that Kelly is up against over there in the far, or good lane as they're calling it, is capable of 6-second elapsed times. Imagine that, unblown on gasoline.
And Tom Snyder, red light. He sat there for a while, and that is a terrible piece of aggravation to watch a guy leave that far ahead of you. And the 33rd alternate qualifier, Kelly, blows away the number 2 qualifier, Snyder, in a major upset.
Well, I think Snyder actually blew himself away. Kelly had an almost perfect light. Maybe Snyder sensed that and put a little extra pressure on him. Watch here. The last yellow isn't quite out. When he leaves, it bypasses green and goes to red. Snyder would have won that race without that red light. No question about it. Now here, potentially could be one of the best comp races of the day. John Lingenfelder versus Todd Funderburg. But first, let's go down to Brock with Rick Kelly.
Well, Rick, red light on the other lane, but you'll take them any way you can get them.
Get any way I can get them. I went from number 33, got bumped out, and the guy broke. I got back in. The guy bumped me out. I beat him first round. So it's all the luck's on our side now.
Could be your day.
Could be. I hope it is. About time.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. A happy guy, and well, he should be. All right. Next up, as we said, John Lingenfelder. And Brock, this is a name known far and wide, not just in drag racing.
Oh, absolutely. Lingenfelder builds some of the finest Corvettes in the business. A renowned engine builder and makes some of the quickest cars, road cars ever.
And Todd Funderburk, when it comes to the drag strip, though, he's got a big equalizer. It's his B Economy Dragster. Lingenfelder and his A Economy Dragster, a machine that is capable of high 6-second elapsed time. That's an economy dragster. Those Corvettes, Brock was talking about, some of the fastest street-legal machines in the world are Lingenfelder engineered Corvettes. We're talking 200-mile-an-hour street-legal cars.
And very reliable machines. He is a genius at doing that kind of work.
And he still loves his roots. NHRA drag racing. It is Lingenfelder, and it isn't even close. A 7:14, that's over 0.4 of a second under the index at 185 miles an hour. And I don't think Lingenfelder showed us everything he's got, plus an ideal light at a 5.1. Funderburk, well, he slowed her down to a 9.18. All right, now there's a car every Competition Eliminator fan knows and loves. That is David Nickens doing a burnout in the Castrol Oldsmobile. But first, let's go down to Brock and John Lingenfelder.
Well, John, I'm sure you take him any way you can get him right now. This, you slowed way down, but this racetrack's got to be real tricky for you.
It's been tough for us. We spun hard off the starting line. We had Steve Ambrose next run, #1 qualifier, and he made a good pass that run. So, but it's one round at a time. So
you got to just keep driving it. What if it really hooks up? You're down in the 6 seconds. Do you think you can get hooked up on a racetrack like this today?
We can come a little closer than we have. You know, we lost lane choice, so now we're gonna have the worst lane. But you know, high 7.0s is about the best we can do here.
Okay, good luck. Go get it.
Thank you very much.
I told you that 714 had a little bit of the sandbag in it. All right, up against David Nickens, another of those spindly, dangerous little dragsters. This is Lou Fico Jr., Brock.
Well, Steve, Fico qualified number 6. Of course, Nickens always strong. He's in the number 4 qualifier. So other than Rick Kelly, who remember came out of the alternate position at 33rd, most of the quick guys are starting to rise to the surface here.
David Nickens, Houston, Texas, looking for his second NHRA Winston World Championship in Competition Eliminator. And Nickens will have the starting line advantage over the dragster. He probably has more power, but he's packing more weight, so his index is an 805 compared to Fico's 775. David Nickens, he and his brother Robert, engine builders in Texas, mighty good people. On another red light. What's going on in comp? Fico wastes away his chances. I think Nickens knew he red lighted. He saw his own wind light coming in the far end, so he just shut it down to save the motor. Even though they build them, they still don't like to break them. All right, so it is Nickens advancing, and again, we can have a look back at the starting line, and we'll see just exactly how badly Mr. Fico might have messed up. Quite badly. 5.0's a perfect light. Here's what a 4.2 looks like. The last yellow hadn't even begun to go out when Fico tried to cheat the tree. Fully legally, of course. Probably thought that was the only chance he had, and I agree. How about Rick Kelly has lane choice over David Nickens in the final 4 because Nickens shut it off after Fico's red light. Steve Ambrose, #1 qualifier, up against John Lingenfelder. How quick can Lingenfelder really go? Maybe we'll find out.
You're watching Sky Sports.
Come the top alcohol dragsters as we kick off final 4 competition here at the Western Auto Sports Nationals. I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans and Bob Fry. And Steve, I'll tell you what, Chuck Baird has been tough all season long. He's really enthusiastic. He just has a great time doing this stuff. Hadn't got his lucky hat on right now. He replaced that, as you say, with a crash helmet. But that does not diminish in any way his competition spirit. He is about as jacked up a guy as I have ever seen in drag racing.
And his competition, he's pretty excited too. Of course, that is Keith Stark. And there you see the fuel injection minus the supercharger pumping raw nitromethane into that motor. 2 big magnetos to try to set it all off. And these cars tend to be very violent. They have so much power, they don't need a 3-speed transmission. They run them with a 2-speed, kind of like an old top fuel car, which means being in that kind of shaky lane is not a good thing for start at all. The car can go out there and shake. Like I said, they make violent bottom-end power.
Throw the indexes out the window. This is heads-up racing.
Ooh, and Stark is right with him. Stark gives Chuck Baird a bit of a fright till about the 3/4 mark. Take that, Baird's crew says. Baird got a nice line of 4.3 and a nice lap time at a 6:05 and a nice speed at 225 miles an hour. So he goes to the final round here at the Western Auto Sports Nationals. Who's he going to race when he gets there? Could it be Darrell Hitchman, the machine we're looking at right now? Or could it be Blaine Johnson, the guy we've talked about all show? And you know, you could have a good case if you argued that Alan Johnson is part of both of these cars, Blaine's brother, because it was he that pioneered this Oldsmobile setup. Basically, their Oldsmobile Pro Stock style engine blocks with specially designed aluminum heads and great big screw-type superchargers and all kinds of stuff that makes it a very competitive package. So Mr. Hitchman has a little technology from Mr. Johnson. Let's go to Brock down at the far end and Chuck Baird.
All right, Chuck Baird into the finals on a hot afternoon in Kansas at a 6:05.
Well, I guess that's what it run. That's what it run. I thought maybe be a little better than that, but the track's not any better. But he got down there, thank goodness.
You're going to be watching this other pair, I'm sure, because lane choice is up right now, and that could be critical.
Yeah, I really personally haven't been watching the lane, so I can't honestly answer that. But we'll just take what you're when we get.
Go get him, Chuck. Good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you very much.
Well, he hasn't had to. He's always had the far lane and didn't really need to be concerned about that. Could change, though. Johnson and Hitchman with lane choice almost as important as the wind light, bro.
Oh, yeah. Without any question, we've seen Pat Austin in this near lane get a little sideways. We've seen a couple of red lights in that right lane, which probably has been prompted in part by guys just trying to get as much of an advantage as they can. On the other hand, this car, Blaine Johnson, his brother Alan, they're cool, I'm sure. They're going to go quick, but I don't think you're going to see any mistakes made on the tree.
You know, if these cars were to run identical elapsed times, the actual time it took them to get from start to finish, Blaine would probably have a better elapsed time towards lane choice because, as we'll see here in just a second, he uses those large front wheels. They have more rollout out of the infrared beam. They have a little momentum when they let that beam come back together. Unlike the small front airplane nose wheels pioneered some years ago by Big Daddy Don Garlits. But Hitchman likes them. They're easier to drive, a little more control, but they don't help you in a red light situation that big wheels might have. He red lights away. Johnson guns for lane choice and... Sorry, Chuck, he got it. 6:01 at another 230-mile-an-hour speed. Back at the starting line, a guy who gets a lot of the credit, Alan.
Well, it certainly wasn't a pretty race, but you guys are with an 0-1, and you're in the finals against Chuck Baird.
Yeah, that's where we wanted to be all weekend, and we got a revenge of loss that we had a couple weekends ago in Columbus, so we're going to go back and hop her up.
What is it about the matchup between you and Baird that just seems to bring out the best in both of you?
We're both pretty good runners, and he's a good tuner, and we're pretty good too, and he's trying as hard as he can, and so are we. So it's and they're both good drivers.
Should make for a good final.
Well, not good news for Chuck Baird that Alan Johnson is going to go back and hop it up. Chuck, I think, has got all the hop he's got in it right now. Johnson will have the lane choice by about 0.04 of a second. Should be a great final. I agree with Bob Fry. All right, again, down to Brock.
A 6:01, get your lane choice. And not quite as quick as the last pass, but right in there.
That's all right. It's pretty hot out here right now, and he's making small changes on the motor, and he red lighted pretty bad, so I may not have left the line properly and shifted properly, but I think lane choice may be pretty important out here because that right lane just doesn't seem to want to handle it out in the middle.
So that says you're going in the left lane, right?
It pretty much says that, yeah.
Okay, well, good luck. Go get it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Dead even leave, the way you like it. But Austin's car launched so much harder than Cheeseman's. For the first 60 feet, it was almost no contest. A 6:08 at 231 for Pat Austin to a 6:21 for Chuck Cheeseman.
A 6.08 gets the win there, and do you think that'll keep lane choice for the finals?
Yeah, I think it will by 300 or 400 thousandths, I mean.
Any preference on who you run in the finals?
Oh, we'd love to run Danny. He's a great racer, and he's a real competitor, and he's our friend, and He was just a great guy to race against.
Well, if they
Be
have,
tough to beat, though.
so will you.
And a little undercurrent there. They don't like the Anderson family very much. They race Danny Townsend. Well, we'll have to wait to see if that really happens or not. But look, and a little smoke off the tire. Pat probably just pedaled the throttle a bit or maybe grabbed the next gear, whatever it was. He daylighted his opponent, Cheeseman, at the 60-foot at half track, all the way down the racetrack. Austin was in total control at 6:08, 231 miles an hour. Pat will be tickled, but Brock, well, he still likes Chuck.
Well, Chuck, it was a valiant try. It didn't quite turn out the way you wanted it to, but hey, this is a tough sport.
Oh, sure is. They're all tough. Hey, well, last one we had a little problem there. We hurt a valve and dropped a retainer, and so we tried to patch it the best we could. So I think that's why it slowed down. It was only running on about 7 cylinders. So, but you know, there's the next race. You know,
right.
We keep trying.
Well, it was a good, it was a great weekend for you anyway, and these things happen. We'll see you down the road.
Okay. Well, we just put that new SSI blower on there, and everything looking great there, and we'll get her.
You're ready to go. Okay, go get him. See you down the road.
Cylinder pressure is everything with those cars. That's why they like that new blower so much. If you got a bad valve and you're leaking a little bit and you're down on one cylinder, you're going to get beat by a guy like Pat Austin or by a guy like Danny Townsend. And of course, this was the driver and car that walled Austin. Pat's dad said they'd most like to race in the final. But Randy Anderson is going to have something to say about that. First of all, let's go down to Brock with Pat Austin this time, the man who will go to the final round in his Olds.
Pat, in 08, on this kind of conditions, not your best, but a good pass, and then we'll see whether or not get your lane choice.
Yeah, we need to keep that streak alive. That was a good run, I think, for the conditions, and we're not shaking the tires right now, and it looks pretty safe, so if we have to, we can step on it, I'm sure, but hope we don't have to, and lane choice is real important. I'm glad we got it.
All right, well, we'll go get him. Let's see if we can get 26.
All right, we're going on.
All right.
Ooh, Pat is assuming that his 608 will be good for lane choice. You know what? I kind of agree with him. These are two great cars, but to pound out a 608 is going to be awfully tough for either one of them, Brock.
I think it is, although Randy Anderson, with all that experience behind him, his dad, Brad, and a great crew, and Danny, as we said earlier, doesn't lack for experience. He knows how to drive these things.
Randy Anderson, the early part of the year, went through a siege of very bad reaction time to the point that his father, Brad, almost sent him to Frank Hulley's drag racing school just to embarrass him. He didn't know why. All of a sudden it just started. Well, he's come out of that slump. He's been driving real well lately and concentrating very hard on it and practicing with a little tree in the trailer and standing in the starting and watching the lights and tapping his feet, all the things a guy can do to get better at it. Ooh, and Randy does lead first. Randy Anderson. Oh, but Townsend pulls ahead. And then from behind, it is Randy Anderson. 3 lead changes in 6 seconds. But Pat Austin was right. He'll get lane choice. Anderson wins it at 6:17, 229 miles an hour. Bob?
6:17. The kid earned his big paycheck with that win, didn't he?
Yeah, he's real consistent, just not quick enough. We were trying, but the bump isn't really hurting us. We're just not running good. So I'm not blaming the track.
You got those Austins in the final. That's certainly not something that I would relish looking forward to.
Oh, we're not that worried. If we get it hooked up a little better and figure out what our problem is, we'll be all right. He went in 08, we went in 17. It's not impossible.
Randy, one of the few drivers to win on the right side of the racetrack here today.
Don't borrow money from Brad Anderson. He is such an optimist, he'll expect it back. Here's his kid in the near lane. That was one nice job of driving. Bear in mind, a 6:17 beat a 6:14, and Danny Townsend didn't have a bad light at all. Anderson was just a bit better. As they got to this point, maybe it's the camera angle, but it looked to me like Danny Townsend was ahead, even though Anderson had broke first. But now Anderson back and wins it by what? Less than a nose. All right, so the final round will be Pat Austin up against Randy Anderson. Austin has the lane choice, but Bad Brad says they can beat him anyway.
I'll tell you what, that was some kind of strong drag race. 17 beats a 14, and that always makes it a wild racing for the fans.
Yeah, it does. I tell you, I saw him all the way. In fact, down by lights, I looked at a good portion of his car, and I wasn't sure if I'd won or not.
I'm afraid, even though you win, you inherit the bad lane. According to Pat, he says he's going to put you over there in that right lane with a bump.
That's quite all right. I think our 05, our quickest run's been over there. We've won the last 2 rounds on the right, and we'll go for it.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Yo,
We are back at the Western Auto Sports Nationals. I'm Steve Evans along with Bob Fry and Brock Yates, and that is John Lingenfelder's A Economy Dragster, one of the toughest cars in his class in the country. And this is the Final Four in Competition Eliminator.
You can see the difference right here, 1.17 seconds. Now, that's only a small block, 6-cylinder L altered. It's a very lightweight car, and Lingenfelder's really going to have to try hard to run him down. But Ambrose having one of his best years in his racing career.
Well, reaction time could be everything. Lingenfelder in the previous round had a 5-1 light. That's 100th away from being perfect. But the comp cars, they sandbag so much, you never know really what kind of muscle they've got until they choose to display it. Lingenfelder, a better light, but not nearly as good as the round before. Here he comes. Nails him with a 7:14 at 185 miles an hour. Ambrose at 8:35 at 158. Of course, the big difference is Lingenfelder was 0.4 under. Ambrose only 0.36 under, Bob Fry.
Hardly seems fair that little 6-cylinder gets a great big head start, but then he's got to hold off a car that has been in the 6-second range over 200 miles an hour. It almost seems insurmountable down at about half track. Look at this. Ambrose seems so far out, the end of the racetrack coming up so quickly, Steven. It doesn't look like that V8's got a chance, but baby, I want to tell you, this thing at 185 miles an hour just comes like a runaway freight train there at the end of the racetrack.
Let's go to Brock.
Well, John, I'll tell you what. When those kind of races where the other guy leaves about a day early is about as wild as it gets, I would imagine the temptation to leave is just almost unbelievable.
Well, one thing, getting as old as I am, I'm a little slower. So.
Patience, right?
Patience, that's right. Younger days.
Going to be exciting. Good luck.
All right, who will race Lingenfelder in the final? David Nickens is in the near lane. On the far side is Rick Kelly. And Bob Fry, here we have a similar situation. Kelly has lane choice based on a better punishing of the index in the round before.
Kelly's a very tough runner. Sporadic appearances on the National Event Trail, Steve, but this is an A Super Modified. It's a unique car. He gets a 1.20 second head start. He's got to try to hold off one of the toughest guys in the business. Even though they're both full-bodied cars, the difference here we're going to see very similar to that Ambrose-Lingenfelder matchup in the previous round.
All right, Nickens will be the last to stage. He's in. Kelly, not a very good light. Nickens chopped the tree down. A 5-1 reaction time, but can he make up the distance? Easily he can do it. Nickens goes to the final round against Lingenfelder, a 7.66, 177 miles an hour. He was 3/800 under the index. Kelly 35 under, but here the whole shot, it didn't much matter.
Academic right on the starting line. This is a class where so many of the races are won or lost, in this case, right on the starting line. You don't win the Winston Championship by being sluggish on the starting line. David Nickens just dynamite, as good as there is in this class, Steve, and one of the reasons why he is just so consistently strong. He doesn't beat himself on the starting line.
No, he certainly doesn't. His brother Robert, crew chief on the car, got to be happy with this when they daylighted Rick Kelly.
It'll be a great final round. He's got Lingenfelder in the final round, a matchup of two of the real giants in competition eliminator. The former Winston champ against John Lingenfelder in that awesome 200-mile-an-hour car.
Well, David, John and you have known each other for a long time. It's going to be an interesting final.
I tell you, it really is, Brock. He's a real good racer, and we've been good friends for a long time, but that's as far as it goes right here. We need to win this round right here to put this Castrol car in the winner's circle, and crew's done a great job this weekend. I tell you, it's been a very tricky track. My guys have stayed on top of it all week, and I got to take my hat off to them. And the grace of the Lord's with us this weekend. We're going to win this race, I'm telling you. And this is the only race we hadn't won on the NHRA circuit, and we'd like to get that over with this weekend.
Well, it looks like a good shot. Sure, in the finals, that's you got to be there to do it.
Well, you got to be there to do it. That's absolutely right.
Really a classic side-by-side confrontation, Bob. The full-bodied car, much like a pro stock automobile with lots of things to do in there, shifting gears and all of that. And then the full-bodied, long wheelbase economy dragster.
This is what makes this class so exciting as far as I'm concerned. You do get that wide variety. There's almost 50 different combinations of cars eligible in this class. And when you get two racers of this caliber here, it just sets up a tremendous final round matchup. The difference here is the number of lap time that they've had. Here's a half-a-second index head start for David Nickens, but Nickens runs every weekend, runs the points races, the national events. Lingenfelder, between toying with those big 200-mile-an-hour Corvettes and everything, is really making one of his very infrequent appearances on the tour. That could be the difference.
And you have to be impressed so far with Lingenfelder's reaction times. And as you say, he does not race week in and week out as David Nickens does. Two of the top engine builders in the country going head-to-head. Good reaction time by both drivers. No big advantage there. Here comes Lingenfelder. And it's enough Lingenfelder will prevent David Nickens from winning here at Topeka, something he wanted to do badly, as you heard him say with Brock. This was the one race he'd never won.
What a performance this was here. Nickens, a great move off the starting line. Very slight advantage out of the starting box, but when you got a guy that can run like Lingenfelder does at the top end of the racetrack, you need more than a couple of hundredths advantage out of the box. Steve Lingenfelder's car at the top end, again, that big top end charge, pushed the Castrol car right to its limit and takes him by just about half a car length. John Lingenfelder on his second appearance on the National Event Tour this year, and he knocks off the former Winston champion.
John, congratulations. 200ths of a second. That's what you call close.
We'll take it, and we sure appreciate it. I wanted to thank my crew. We really did a super job. Oldsmobile, Essex Corporation, and most of all the fans.
Congratulations, John. Great.
Thank you.
Well, a great many similarities in the Top Alcohol Funny Car final round rolling out right now. Both young drivers, Pat Austin and Randy Anderson, driving the family car. That's Dan's Oldsmobile in the far lane and Dad's Pontiac in the near lane. Austin has never been beaten here at Topeka. Randy Anderson's car has never been beaten.
Let me give you a couple of stats here. Austin and Anderson have only met once so far this year. Austin punched him out down at Memphis, 6:08 to a 6:17. Statistically speaking, Pat Austin, the former Winston champ, is #1 in every category. He's the quickest car, he's the fastest car, he's the quickest guy off the starting line, reaction time all season long, and that's averaging every run they've made. And the big stat there, Steve, is that reaction time. Randy's car has been as quick and as strong as anybody in the field this year, but he is not even among the top 10 statistically in reaction time. If he's sluggish on the starting line, he's going to be out of here.
And as we talked earlier, he does not have lane choice. Randy Anderson in the near lane, but he seemed very confident. He said, hey, 2 of our best runs have been made in that right or near lane. And you're right. In fact, his dad has really been on Randy about the reaction time situation. These 2 young drivers, no love lost whatsoever here. They'll move them in, bring the engines up, sidestep the clutch, and the hint of a yellow light on the tree. About 2,500 horsepower, somewhere in that range. And it's Anderson away first. And it's Anderson across the finish line first. 6:11 to a 6:16. So much for Bob Price statistics. 230 miles an hour for both drivers.
Absolutely right. Remember, I don't write him, I just read him, Steve. And he was quicker off the starting line that time, and then a magnificent performance as he just held on all the way and got the win. Not only was he first off the line, quicker on the track, matched Austin with horsepower at the top end. The Jolly Rancher car makes an awful lot of power at the far end of the racetrack. His 230-mile-an-hour shot here, good enough to hold off Pat Austin. Now in the year, they're even up at 1 apiece.
And it looked like Austin might have got just a little bit out of the racing groove to the left, and that may have cost him the Topeka title. Brock Yates is with the champ.
Randy, great effort, in very, very difficult conditions.
Yeah, we've had that right lane all day, but we've made it work for us. This has got to be the biggest win, you know, come back after the crash and all, and I couldn't be more happy.
You got great reaction time. You had the tough lane, and you just bounced over the bumps. No problem, apparently.
Well, that's kind of up to Dad. He seems to think that right lane's just fine. He's got a particular spot he puts me, and told me don't worry about it. Just do my job, and he'll do his, and it worked out just fine.
Did you run both lanes over the weekend? Could you feel the difference between the 2 of them?
No, not really. My quickest run was an 05, and that was in the right lane, so it's been good to me all weekend.
Johnson's car, with the way the rules break this year, running a very big engine. That's almost a funny car style engine, Steve, in that car. I mean, it's over 490 cubic inches, a big motor. And of course, he is the 3-time over Winston champ, and this won't be a gimme for Chuck Baird. One thing interesting about Baird's car, Steve, he has slowed every round so far, and that is very unlike him. From the mid part of last season on, he was as dominant a car as there was in this class, and his long suit had been just brute horsepower. This is a car that averages 592, and he hasn't been close to that today.
No, he has not. As far as driving talent is concerned, I think that's pretty much a toss-up. They're both very, very good on the lights. You have to be in this category to make the final round of a national event. It is just so very, very competitive. The racing among the alcohol dragsters might honestly be, if we had a stat on it, the closest racing of any category in the National High Rod Association.
It's a very pivotal race for both of these drivers, too. These two guys both in contention for the Winston Championship at the end of the season, along with Jay Payne and Rick Santos and a couple of other drivers. But it's a very key race right here.
All right. Far lane, Blaine Johnson, Central California, Chuck Baird. A wisp of smoke up at Baird's tires, and that might be his demise. He slows down once again. Alan Johnson hooping it up. His brother Blaine has won it at 5.99. 229 miles an hour to a losing and very disappointing 6.09 for Chuck Baird at 225 miles an hour. Let's watch Baird's car on the near lane, Bob.
You're right. He did slow down again. Blaine Johnson right even with him off the starting line. And boy, you don't want to give the Winston champ any advantage. The way Chuck's car has been running, he needed to get him off the starting line. He did not. 5.99 for Blaine Johnson certainly was there for the taking, but Chuck Baird's best run of the day would have taken out Blaine right here.
And what a tremendous boost for Johnson in his quest for yet another alcohol dragster title.
It's going out with a bang, as we say, a 99. Excellent, great pass.
Man, I just felt like I just hit a home run in the World Series. I was so happy coming down there when I saw that win light after the finish line. I know we've been trying real hard. We're down to 3 races. We got 2 more now. We got to win. It's coming down right to the wire between us and Payne and possibly Baird further down the line.
So there was extra incentive at stake because of Chuck, and he's in the hunt. So you really wanted to beat him.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what my lights were or anything, but the win light's what we wanted at this point.
Well, a 5.99 is a great pass here late in the afternoon. Of course, it cooled off a little bit. The conditions are a little bit better, but were you looking for that kind of ET?
I figured it might be a little bit quicker, but yeah, it's still real hot out here. And it's hard to make a run when it's this hot.
Congratulations. Great.
Thank you. Thanks.
Blaine Johnson.
All right, we had an awful lot of fun doing this show, and we hope you enjoyed watching it. Our congratulations to all of our champions here at the Western Auto Sports Nationals. For Bob Fry and Brock Yates, I'm Steve Evans. We'll see you soon here on TNN.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is George E. Orgera. The supervising producer is Tom Gee. Produced and directed by Mark Kuchin. The American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.